everyone, it's Emily Fox. Today's video is going to be all about the worst audiobooks I've listened to on Booktube. I feel like I might be forgetting some, but I still have quite a list of books that I feel like the audiobook kind of ruined it for me. To be fair, I'm sure some of these were just terrible books to begin with, and there are various reasons why I didn't enjoy the audiobooks. Could be very serious or not so much, as you'll see. So let's get to it.
Only you're the reason why I can feel those butterflies.
I did do a video about the best audiobooks. I will list down below. I have part 1 and part 2, but the last one I posted, I talked about how I don't tend to listen to a ton of fantasy and sci-fi as audiobooks because I feel like sometimes it just gets a bit complicated with names. I don't tend to remember names very well, so it makes things way more complicated for me. And one good example of that would be the Boneshard Daughter, which I listened to this year. I thought I would be okay, but I found the book super confusing, and I don't know if it's because of the audiobook or if I would have felt the same way with the physical book, but the timeline, the character, so many point of view, and just the fact that it's a fantasy novel. So I feel like I was just overwhelmed and I did end up enjoying it. So that's a good example of that. Also, there are some books that, like I was mentioning, I don't know if it's really just the audiobook. I think the book, I would have hated it anyway, like Normal People. I don't think the audiobook was particularly horrible, but I feel like it really showed how bad the writing is, in my opinion. It just, hearing it out loud, I mean, it makes a whole difference. But once again, to be fair, I don't think I would have enjoyed the book reading it physically either. Let's go with one that it's an author I will never read anything from again, and it is Karen Slaughter, The Good Daughter being the audiobook. This was the second book that I read or actually listened to by her. The first one was Pretty Girl, and I realized that her books are just too graphic, too sexually violent towards female characters. I just didn't want to read anything else by her. And I accidentally picked up The Good Daughter by her from my library. I didn't realize it was the same author, basically. And this was way too much for me. I didn't think any book would ever be triggering for me, but her books as audiobooks, way too much. I tend to listen to audiobooks, as I'm getting ready in the morning or going on walks or in the shower. And let me tell you, listening to like assaults or grape scenes as an audiobook, not quite what you want to do in the shower. So yeah, it was just too much for me. If you really like to be freaked out, that might work for you, but for me, it's just a huge no. So yeah, will not recommend that one ever. A few of them, to be fair, I feel like they're probably just really old books, but the quality was just really bad. Like I'm thinking the Farseer Trilogy by Hobb. I listened to all 30 books. I flip-flop between the physical book and the audiobook, and the audiobook quality was really bad. With the quality, like the screeching in the background, the static, it's probably the right word. Plus, keep in mind, they mentioned to switch CD. So like, it's probably very, very old, but I still think it's worth mentioning because you might not realize when you start listening to it. One that will be the unpopular opinion, and that I'm ready for people to come at me with pitchfork, The Hobbit. Listen, I did not grow up reading it. Wasn't a thing for me, and I tried to read a physical book. I was struggling with it, and I decided audiobook. There are songs, like that's the perfect way of going through it, and there was a whole cast, there was music, but the quality wasn't great. Again, probably old, and I just did not care for singing. I'm realizing in general, any book that has some type of singing. I just finished the newest one by Paula Hawkins. What's her? Slow Burning Fire? We'll check. Yeah, A Slow Fire Burning. There's a part at the end where the narrative sings. I was cringing so hard. So yeah, in general, just not my thing, any kind of singing in audiobooks. But I'm aware, that's a me thing. I think that's the reason I also DNF'd The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. They were starting to like have music singing. I was like, nope, I just couldn't do it. Now let's go for some that might be more universally agreed that the narration wasn't the greatest. I would go with the second book in the Thames File series by Sylvain Neuvel. I cannot remember the title. Waking Gods. For some reason, I can never remember that title. I have a clip, actually. I will go and download my own video so I can include it in here.
I got the water part right. We're definitely in the ocean.
I can't see anything.
You're a little freaked out, aren't you?
Can't you get us out of here?
Sure.
Like, it sounds like a bad porn or something. I just could not stand it. The annoying voice is a child, and I mentioned that it sounds It was terrible. I hated every second of it. It was still part of the third book, which the third book wasn't great either, but I feel like the audiobook experience ruined it for me because of that one voice. I don't know. I just couldn't get into it. It was really, really bad. And I feel like in general, adults mimicking whiny children is just not something that works for me. They just annoy me, which actually, I was going to forget to mention this, but The Need, that is the perfect example of a book that made me want to just scream out loud. There's a specific scene, once again, clearly, I mark with the shower with bad audiobooks, because I like listening to audiobooks in the shower. Definitely recommend shower speakers, but at your own risk, clearly. There's a specific scene in this one. Like, the mother is basically losing her mind. She doesn't know if there's something wrong with her or kids, something. And there's a scene where her children are just saying, "Mommy, mommy, mommy," like in a whiny voice, for like probably a page in the physical book. And I remember distinctly being in the shower, washing my hair, and not being able to just turn it off. I'm scarred for life. So yes, would not recommend that book in general probably, but that scene, no. I can't imagine being the narrator and filming, recording that section. I would just, the cringe, no. No. Speaking of cringiness, Gemini. I read the physical book of Illuminae, and the format is great also because there's a bunch of pictures, but I thought audiobook wasn't a bad way of going through it either because there's a bunch of emails and like messages between the two main characters. It's YA sci-fi, and there's just something about hearing an adult man imitating a really cringy teenager trying to flirt that just gave me horrible secondhand embarrassment. To be fair, I do get it pretty easily, but I remember this specific book really marking me, and I was like, yeah, I cannot continue this series. There's no way, because of a couple scenes. It was too much for me. I feel like I'm sounding very picky, but like I've listened to like 200 audiobooks at this point on Booktube, so I kind of have stronger opinions. Like the fact that I'm able to name like maybe 10 that really annoyed me, I don't think that's that many. So yeah, that one was a big no for me. One that I listened to this year, and I'm still confused, is Hostage by Claire Mcintosh. I've decided I don't think I'm going to read anything else by the author. I just don't really end up loving anything by her. Like her first book that I read by her was I Let You Go, and I liked that one, but ever since I haven't liked anything else. But in this one, specifically the audiobook, the narrator, I'm pretty sure she doesn't change her voice when she switches character. I spent way more time and energy trying to notice that than caring about the plot because I still am not sure, but I feel like if I'm still not sure, it means that she didn't. But basically the story, you're following this woman who is a flight attendant, and she goes on like the longest flight ever, and her kid is kidnapped, kind of blackmailed, and then another point of view you're following is her husband was a police officer. And I would every time be like, wait, police officer, she's not a police officer, and then realize, oh, we're following the husband. Like I would like not realize that we switched, and I feel like if she had made a voice I would have noticed, but the fact that I'm still not sure, right? So yeah, I don't think I'm that picky usually with the voices per se, but at least make it clear that it's not the main character, right? If you have listened to that book, let me know, because clearly I'm not sure. One that I hated some of the voices was Middle Game. I attempted the audiobook, hated the voice of some of the like villains. It's like the first hour pretty much of the audiobook. And then I decided I can't do this. I tried the physical book, was still struggling. So I switched back to the audiobook and I pushed through and listened to the whole book. Didn't end up liking it, which probably didn't help. But I tried to go to my library because I realized I don't have the audiobook, like a snippet of it, which I think I'm going to start doing when I hate something about it, just so I can include it in video like this. But you can only have the first 5 minutes, and like it's just the narrator, which actually, let me make you listen to that. Her voice is a little scratchy, but when she made the like villains voices, it was way worse. Obviously she was, playing a character, but it just got bad. But let me just still put it on for you.
Tell him exactly how much of her blood is on the floor. She'd look at...
So you hear like the scratchiness, but it got way worse whenever she was playing the villains, and it just got, I don't know, I found it super annoying. And I've heard a few people mention that, so I don't think this one is just me, but that was definitely one of the worst voices ever. And like I mentioned in my best, because I wasn't sure if you wanted to see this video, but hench, there's also a few characters that she does that, like one specific villain also actually. So no. Oh my god, I almost forgot. I don't even remember the title, but let me put it on the screen because I will forget again. It's a nonfiction book, and I never finished the book because I was so bored. I was struggling with it with the physical book, so I decided to listen to it as I was reading it, and the narrator sounded like one of those teachers in university that just puts you to sleep. Like, the content was interesting, but it would put me to sleep. So that was definitely another one that I thought I should include. I almost forgot. So yeah, I don't think it's that bad that I only have a couple books like this to mention, but these were definitely like the worst ones that I remember reading, listening to since starting Booktube like 6 years ago. I don't think that's that bad. I'm sure I forgot some other ones, so please let me know in the comment section some of the worst audiobooks you have listened to, whether it's just the narration you didn't care about, or maybe some characters, or maybe the audiobook was too old, or something just bugged you, because we all like to know that, so we can avoid these kind of books and just go ahead and read the physical book or the ebook instead. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thumbs up, subscribe. I will be putting more videos on the screen that I recommend you check out, and I will see you in an upcoming video very soon. Bye.